Hi, I'm Phobos and you are watching A Game to Remember. Today's game is one that is remembered for one certain level. I give you a few hints. It's 2002, it's one of many World War II shooters at the time, and D-Day. At this point most of you will probably already guessed it, Medal of Honor Allied Assault. When the game first came out, the franchise was known for its installments on the PlayStation 1. But with Allied Assault 2015 incorporated and EA embarked this franchise onto the PC for the first time. For most people this is the one they think of when they hear Medal of Honor. Why, you might ask? Well, most probably because of the D-Day level featured in this game. Up until this point we have rarely seen such a display of authentic, large-scale World War II action. But now let's revisit Operation Overlord and Medal of Honor Allied Assault over 10 years from launch. Memories of Medal of Honor Allied Assault. I remember the franchise as a PlayStation 1 first-person shooter with horrible controls. Everyone who ever picked up the original Medal of Honor or Medal of Honor Underground knows what I'm talking about. The most accurate memory I have with the PlayStation Medal of Honors is definitely not being able to aim properly. As far as I remember, you had to press one button down and hold it to actually move the crosshair on the screen. How to describe if you haven't played it yourself, but trust me, it was garbage. So when Medal of Honor Allied Assault came along, I did not expect anything good. Quite the opposite. This was before the onslaught of World War II shooters came along. Granted, not really that much before it, but still a few months before the other juggernauts, Battlefield 1942 and the original Call of Duty hit the market. Much like the modern military shooters today, back then World War II shooters wouldn't stop coming out. But unlike today's MMS, most World War II shooters were awesome, at least the first generation of games was. Characteristic to these games was that almost all of them were made with the Quake 3 engine. At the time a lot of memorable games came out which used this engine. I don't know if this was the case for you guys, but back in the day we used to call these shooters Quake 3 shooters, coined by the engine used in the game. But enough rambling now, let us talk about Allied Assault in particular. Like I already said, I knew of the existence and also played the two games for the PlayStation. Even as a teenager I hated the console controls for Medal of Honor and considered it pretty much inferior to 007 GoldenEye and of course Perfect Dark, which we played like crazy and all the time. Now, considering all this criticism towards the franchise, I wasn't interested in the game whatsoever, until a friend of mine said, and I quote, "Allied Assault is Saving Private Ryan the game." Of course I don't need to explain Saving Private Ryan to you guys, but with that said, that actually got my attention. Saving Private Ryan used to be and still is one of my favorite movies, and that setting made into a game? That sounded like a recipe for awesome to me. My friend also mentioned Operation Overlord, aka D-Day or the invasion level, and was as excited as a 13-year-old can get. At the time I thought to myself that my friend is exaggerating like crazy, but little did I know that the most epic level in first-person shooter history was actually upon me. But before you could get to the much anticipated D-Day level, you had to free an SAS agent from Africa, blow up some airships while you're at it, infiltrate a base in Norway, sabotage a submarine, and escape to safety in a train. You know, the usual stuff that super soldiers do in their free time. But after that was all out of the way, you finally got to play Operation Overlord, and it was actually introduced with this neat mission briefing. Check it out.
Excellent work in Norway, Lieutenant, under very difficult circumstances. Thanks to your efforts, the Kriegsmarine wolfpacks that once terrorized the North Atlantic have been decimated over the past year by our naval and aerial patrols. With Allied shipping lanes secure, the door is now open for the invasion of Europe that we've been planning since the start of this bloody war. It's called Operation Overlord, and we're breaching Hitler's Atlantic Wall through the Normandy coast. The Germans know we're coming, and coming soon, but we've got them thinking that the invasion will be at Calais, well north of the actual landing beaches. This will be the largest amphibious invasion in history, Lieutenant, and you're going to be in the group that's leading the charge. Now, we may have numbers on our side, but we don't have the experience. Most of our troops are fresh out of basic training, and they need true combat veterans like you to help lead the attack. That's why I've reassigned you to the 2nd Ranger Battalion. The landings will take place across 5 beaches, codenamed Gold, Juno, Sword, Omaha, and Utah. The British will land at Sword and Gold, the Canadians at Juno, and the Americans at Omaha and Utah. You'll be going ashore at Charlie sector of Omaha Beach, just west of the Dog One exit. Although the beaches are not as fortified as they are at Calais, the Germans have left no spot undefended. Every inch of beach is covered by machine guns and artillery, and the place is surrounded by miles of barbed wire and countless minefields. One more thing, Lieutenant. Try to keep in mind that this is the largest and most complicated operation that we've ever attempted, and in my experience, whenever things get complicated, things go wrong. But no matter what happens, I believe that with soldiers like you leading the way, we will prevail with this Allied assault. Good luck at Omaha Beach, Lieutenant, and Godspeed.
At this point, I really had to admit, the atmosphere in the boats approaching the beach was tense, and in fact really similar to the screenplay of Saving Private Ryan. Just watch, even for 2002 standards, you can clearly see the desperation and fear in the eyes of the NPCs, and you could barely see what you were approaching or what was up ahead.
Head for cover and get to the shingle. I'll see you on the beach.
And now you were on your own. What I really like about this beginning of the mission is how the developers dealt with the situation. You were just dropped into hell on earth. Panic, confusion and disorganization all around you. Your main goal for now is to survive and somehow get off the beach. No waypoints, no NPCs that hold your hand. It's just you, your gun and your timings going from tank barrier to tank barrier. At this point, it wasn't even worth considering shooting your enemies. You could barely recognize anything back there. You saw some MG nests and 2 bunkers, but that's it. But I guess everyone tried to shoot back on their first run at it. It is also noteworthy that unlike much of the game, this part was only scripted to a certain degree. It was up to you to dodge machine gun fire and shelling from artillery and mortars. There was no clear pattern that you could learn to avoid enemy fire, so if you didn't pay attention, you could die in an instant and had to retry. But even if you had to, that was actually kind of great, since there are multiple roads you can take to get off the beach, and on the way to the bunkers you would get another story, like the soldier arguing with another one for clearing tank barriers.
Where the hell are you guys? Special engineers! We're blowing this area as cold as a tank! Are you nuts? This is the only cover between here and the shingle! Follow the line! This one's going!
Once you made it up all the way off the beach, you needed to breach the barbed wire, but not without some bangalores. And of course, in true first-person shooter fashion, it was your duty to get them off that beach and return them to the captain. Would be too easy, I guess, if another one of these soldiers did that. But hey, you're the hero in this game, not some NPC.
Get those bangalores!
Now, close to one of the bunkers, only 3 other comrades made it, but not for long. Because that captain orders them to their certain death. Even past me knew that they won't make it to that trench on the other side. Yet again, it was time for you to shine and take out these MG nests before making it to the trench and into the bunker complex. This mission was far from over.
Find a way up the bluff! Take out the bunker gunners! You can get a clear shot! Wait for my signal! Covering fire! Go! Get moving! Come on, go!
After some close quarters action in the bunker, you would eventually make it up to the machine guns aimed at the beach. The very guns that just tried to kill you. Tell you what, the feeling you got from making it all the way up that beach and into that bunker was extremely gratifying. Not to mention that from that position you could not only take out the MG nests and the other MG gunners in the other bunker, no, more awesomely, you could also overlook the entire battlefield. At the time, this view was more than epic. There pretty much wasn't anything this large scale in any first-person shooter so far. Of course, until Battlefield 1942 and Call of Duty came along with even more epicness. But that's another story. And that's all I got for you today. Thank you very much for watching this episode of A Game to Remember. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to press the like button and also make sure to favorite, subscribe and share with your friends if you want to. And until next time, take care, have a good one and goodbye. But now, without further ado, let's revisit Operation Overlord and Medal of Honor Light Assault over 10 years. It's years.